For nearly 4 decades, one man has stood at the center of Uganda's political landscape, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. From guerrilla leader to one of Africa's longest-serving presidents, his rule has shaped the nation's past, present, and uncertain future. In 1986, after a 5-year guerrilla war, Museveni seized power, promising fundamental change. Uganda had endured years of instability, from Idi Amin's dictatorship to Milton Obote's contested leadership. Museveni's early years were marked by optimism. His national resistance movement introduced a no-party system, arguing that traditional party politics had fueled division. The economy rebounded, infrastructure improved. International donors praised Uganda as a model of post-conflict recovery. But even in this hopeful era, seeds of long-term control were planted. Political pluralism was restricted, and power increasingly centralized. By 1996, Uganda held its first presidential elections under Museveni. He won decisively, strengthening his grip on power. This period saw constitutional reforms, including the 1995 Constitution, a landmark document that introduced term limits and democratic structures. In the north, the Lord's Resistance Army insurgency devastated communities for nearly 2 decades, raising questions about the government's handling of the conflict. By the early 2000s, pressure mounted. Opposition voices grew louder. Then, in 2005, a turning point. Term limits were removed from the Constitution.
My view is that it is a lot of nonsense, because as long as there are elections, the people should elect. Indeed, all the European countries, they don't have term limits.
With term limits gone, Museveni entered a new phase, one of entrenched dominance. Multi-party politics returned, but critics argued the playing field was uneven. Opposition figures challenged his rule, but elections were frequently contested, with allegations of irregularities and state intimidation.
We are supposed to run as individuals in this election. We are not supposed to have any organization supporting us.
At the same time, Uganda experienced economic expansion, especially in urban centers. The government's approach to dissent grew more assertive. Public demonstrations were often met with force, signaling a tightening political environment. A new generation emerged, young, connected, and increasingly vocal. Robert Kyagulanyi, known as Bobi Wine, became the face of this movement, challenging Museveni's long rule. Elections in this era were marked by heightened tension, internet shutdowns, arrests of opposition figures, and international scrutiny. In 2017, another constitutional change removed the presidential age limit, allowing Museveni to extend his rule further. By 2026, Museveni once again secured victory in the general elections, extending his presidency beyond 40 years.
Commission hereby declares the elected president declares Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
What defines his rule? Development versus protests, rural versus urban Uganda. Museveni's rule is a paradox. On one hand, stability after chaos, economic recovery, and infrastructure growth, regional military influence. On the other, shrinking political space, long-term incumbency, persistent inequality, and unemployment. As Uganda enters another Museveni term after the 2026 elections, the stakes are higher than ever. Several key trends are likely to define the future. 1. Youth pressure. Uganda has one of the youngest populations in the world. Demand for jobs, representation, and reform will intensify. 2. Tighter political control. Given past patterns, the government may continue prioritizing stability over political liberalization, potentially leading to further restrictions on opposition activity. 3. Economic balancing act. With rising debt and cost of living concerns, economic management will be critical. Growth must translate into real opportunities for ordinary citizens. 4. Digital and social media influence. Information is harder to control. Public discourse, especially among youth, will increasingly shape political dynamics. 5. Succession question. After 4 decades in power, the question of what comes next becomes unavoidable. Whether managed internally or through public pressure, succession will define Uganda's long-term stability. From revolutionary leader to enduring president, Museveni's legacy is deeply woven into Uganda's story. But as the nation moves forward, the question remains, is Uganda preparing for continuity or change?